My mom always said that being too beautiful would get you tricked by men. So I wore dull foundation and married the crown prince of Beijing's elite circles, who fell for me at first sight. I thought he wasn't after my looks. He loved me for who I was inside. Until the car accident happened. He shielded me with his own body, but he was critically injured in the explosion. When I woke up in the hospital, the first thing I did was ask the nurse, "Where's my husband? How is he?" Mr. Jiang has severe burns on his back, but he's not in critical condition. He's in the room next door. I immediately pulled out my phone and stumbled my way to the next room. Just as I was about to push the door open, I heard a voice from inside. It was Jiang Chiye's mother. "Chiye, you married such an ugly woman. Not only have you made our whole family a laughingstock, now you're risking your life for her on purpose. How long are you going to keep this up?" My hand froze on the doorknob. There was silence inside for a few seconds. Then came Jiang Chiye's calm, unreadable voice, devoid of any emotion. "Mom, you know what I want." I knew it. "You're still doing all this for Li Nian. Let me tell you, you are the most outstanding heir of our family. Li Nian will never be allowed into this household. Using Song Qinghuan to provoke us won't work either." I stood there, my entire body turning cold. What were they just saying? For Li Nian? Who is Li Nian? A wave of immense panic and a dreadful sense of foreboding engulfed me like an icy tide. Leaning against the wall, I slowly backed away and hid in my room. Several seconds later, my hands trembling, I took out my phone. I sent a message to a private investigator. "Investigate all connections between Jiang Chiye and Li Nian. The more details, the better." Every minute, every second of waiting felt like torture. Mrs. Zhang's sharp accusations and Jiang Chiye's calm words, "You know what I want," echoed relentlessly in my mind. My phone vibrated. With shaking hands, I opened it. Inside was a thick stack of documents, accompanied by many photos. Li Nian was the eldest daughter of the Li family, Jiang Chiye's first love. They were a perfect match, from equal social standing, the golden couple everyone in their circles recognized. 3 years ago, they were set to marry, but during the premarital checkup, Li Nian was found to be infertile. For a top-tier family like the Jiangs, heirs are the top priority, so the Jiang family firmly opposed the marriage. But Jiang Chiye insisted on marrying her, so the Jiang family began to intervene, relentlessly crushing the Li family's business. Finally, the Li family couldn't withstand the pressure. Li Nian tearfully broke up with Jiang Chiye. After the breakup, Jiang Chiye started going on countless blind dates, but he didn't like any of the women, until he met me, the famously ugly woman in our circles. Suddenly, everything connected. He didn't marry me because I was special in any way, and certainly not because he saw my inner self. It was simply because, of all his blind dates, I was the most disgraceful, the most unsuitable choice, the perfect tool to infuriate and force his parents to compromise. He deliberately married an ugly woman, just to make a statement to his family, to force their hand, to get them to agree to let Li Nian into the household. Looking at the words on my phone, I suddenly laughed. I laughed and laughed, until tears started to fall. Pain was like a giant net, wrapping tightly around me, pulling tighter and tighter, almost strangling me. Mom said being too pretty would get you tricked, but I disguised myself as ugly and still got tricked. And it was even more thorough, more ridiculous, and more pathetic. For these 3 years, the happiness I thought I had was nothing but an elaborately staged play. I was just a tool for Jiang Chiye, to make a statement to his family, a pawn for him to express his love for Li Nian. I thought I had found a light, not knowing that light was just a reflection from a mirror aimed at someone else. I sat in the room and cried for a long time. Finally, I wiped my tears, took out my phone, and called Jiang's mother. "I want a divorce from Jiang Chiye." "What did you say? Song Qinghuan, looking the way you do, how dare you bring up divorce first? Do you have any idea how many women in our circle are begging to marry Chiye? What I look like is none of your business. I'm getting this divorce. If the Jiang family doesn't agree, I'll get a lawyer and go through legal proceedings. If it gets ugly, no one benefits. Fine, I'll handle the divorce for you. Wait a few days." I hung up. I took a deep breath and checked myself out of the hospital. After getting home, the first thing I did was throw all the things Jiang Chiye had given me over the years, necklaces, bracelets, rings, bags, into the trash. It was like throwing away my own stupidity from the past 3 years. A few days later, Jiang Chiye came back. The burns on his back weren't fully healed, and his movements were a bit slow, but he was still wearing a sharp suit, standing tall and straight, with a handsome face. He was as gentle as ever. "Why are you sitting here? The maid said you haven't been eating much these past few days." I looked up at him. In the past, every time I saw that face, my heart would race, and my cheeks would flush. But looking at it now, it just feels strange and cold. Jiang Chiye didn't seem to notice the change in my gaze. Or perhaps he never truly paid attention to my eyes in the first place. He glanced at the calendar on the wall, and naturally took my hand. "Are you upset because I wasn't here to keep you company? It's your birthday today. I've arranged a dinner at the most luxurious hotel downtown. It's still early. How about I take you to pick out a dress first?" Okay, if I had heard this before, that he remembered my birthday and even prepared a dinner, I probably would have been overjoyed. But now, all I felt inside was a cold, barren mockery. I didn't expose him, though. I just nodded faintly. Jiang Chiye took me to a high-end dress shop. As soon as we entered, his phone rang. "You look first. I need to take this call." He walked aside as he spoke. I didn't think much of it, and went on picking out a dress. I had my eye on a champagne-colored gown. Simple and elegant. I'll take this one. This dress is mine. When I turned and saw the woman speaking, my blood ran cold. That bright, radiant face of Li Nian from the photo, snuggled up next to Jiang Chiye, was now right in front of me, alive and real. She was wearing a beige suit. Her wavy hair was long. Her makeup was flawless. Her eyes held a natural air of superiority, and she was staring at me with a faint, mocking smile. The champagne-colored dress in my hand. Li Nian stepped forward. Her voice was soft, but her tone was anything but polite. Sorry, I've also taken a liking to this dress. Even though you were here first, I think it might suit me better. Why don't you just let me have it? I'm afraid not. I won't. I really like it, miss. With a face like yours, everything looks about the same. Why not do me a favor and let me have it? The two of us were at a standoff. The air was thick with unspoken tension. What's going on? He came back from his call and saw the scene. His brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. When Li Nian saw him, her eyes instantly lit up, but she didn't let go of the dress. Chiye, you're here too, so this must be your wife. Had I known it was Mrs. Jiang, I wouldn't have tried to take it. I'll let Mrs. Jiang have this dress. She let go as she spoke, as if her earlier insistence was just a joke. But the next second, Jiang Chiye reached out and took the champagne-colored dress right out of my hands and handed it to Li Nian. No need to give it up. This one suits you. Go try it on. A flicker of triumph crossed Li Nian's eyes. She took the dress and smiled at me, then turned and went into the fitting room. My hand hung frozen in midair, my fingertips still tingling from the fabric being snatched away. Only then did Jiang Chiye turn to me, as if he'd just dealt with some trivial matter. Qinghuan, that was Li Nian, a friend of mine. She's just a bit blunt. She didn't mean any harm. It's just a dress. We can pick something else. Why don't you just be honest? You said it suits her better. You just think this face of mine isn't good enough for this dress. Isn't good enough for anything beautiful, right? Jiang Chiye was visibly taken aback. He clearly didn't expect me to counter like that, or that I'd outright state this unspoken truth. He quickly composed himself, a hint of helplessness in his tone. That's not what I meant. If I thought you weren't good enough, why would I have married you in the first place? Yeah. Why indeed? Because I'm ugly in just the right way. The perfect tool. The perfect pawn to provoke the Jiang family and force them to compromise. All my life, hiding my looks, I've heard too many taunts. The whispers of classmates. The cruel words from blind dates. My father's sighs. Those words were like needles. After being pricked for so long, you just go numb. But Jiang Chiye was different. These past 3 years, his gentle reassurances, his subtle ways of protecting me, even risking his life for me. It was like warm water slowly soaking my frozen heart, softening it. It made me develop foolish hopes and a dependence I shouldn't have. And then, with his own hands, in the most calm, most casual way, he shattered that false warmth completely. That hurts more deeply than any direct malice ever could. I desperately held back the sobs and the churning pain in my throat. I didn't say a word. I turned and walked to another rack of clothes. I grabbed a plain-looking, simple black dress at random. Just then, the fitting room curtain opened. Li Nian stepped out. The champagne-colored gown perfectly accentuated her figure. It made her skin look flawless, radiant and dazzling. Miss Li, this dress is perfect for you. It's like it was made just for you. Jiang Chiye's gaze also fell on Li Nian. His eyes were deep, clearly reflecting her image. In those usually cool eyes, there was now a trace of the affection I had once searched for in his gaze, but which he had never once shown me. It was just a fleeting glimpse, but I caught it. It felt like an invisible hand had clenched tightly around my heart, squeezing it so hard I could barely breathe. Chiye, do I look good? Very. The smile on Li Nian's face grew even brighter. She walked over to Jiang Chiye's side. Naturally, she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Oh, right. I heard Mrs. Jiang's birthday banquet is tonight, at the Yuehua Hotel. Jiang Chiye nodded. I happen to be free tonight. If Mrs. Jiang doesn't mind, I'd like to come celebrate your birthday too. Of course not. You're welcome to come. The banquet hall on the top floor of the Yuehua Hotel was brilliantly lit. The birthday party Jiang Chiye had arranged for me was on a grand scale. He'd invited half the city's elite. I wore that inconspicuous black dress. My heavy bangs and glasses, as usual, hid my face. Standing next to Jiang Chiye, I felt like a shadow that didn't belong. I could feel eyes on me from all directions. Curious, probing stares, and mostly, undisguised contempt and snickers. What was President Jiang thinking? Marrying someone like that? Who knows? Maybe he has unique tastes. The hushed gossip wormed its way into my ears. I kept my back straight, my face expressionless, as if I heard nothing. Not long after the banquet began, Jiang Chiye presented me with a gift in front of everyone, an exquisitely valuable diamond necklace. When the velvet box was opened, a low murmur of admiration and envy rippled through the crowd. I softly thanked him. Li Nian arrived a little later. The moment she appeared, she commanded the room's attention, as if she were the true star of the evening. Li Nian walked up to me. Sorry I'm late. I didn't have time to get a proper gift. I hope you don't mind, Mrs. Jiang. Let me make a fool of myself and play a piece on the piano, to wish you a happy birthday. Chiye, I remember you play the piano very well too. How about we play a duet, to add to the birthday fun for Mrs. Jiang? What do you say? Jiang Chiye looked at Li Nian's expectant eyes. then glanced at the silent me beside him. He paused for a moment, and actually walked over. A harmonious duet began. It was a duet version of For Elise. The man was cool and dignified. The woman was bright and charming. Sitting together, they looked like a perfect picture. The surrounding whispers grew louder. This time, there was even less attempt to hide them. Now that's what you call a perfect match. What a shame. If only Mr. Jiang had married Miss Li back then. That Song Qinghuan is really taking up space. Such an ugly person. Actually paired with the most outstanding heir in the capital's circle. What a waste. I stood where I was, feeling the air around me grow thinner. Those gazes and words were almost drowning me. I turned and went to the balcony. The night breeze was cool, dispersing the suffocating warmth and noise. From the banquet hall, I leaned against the balcony railing, took a deep breath, and slowly let it out. Faint footsteps sounded behind me, then a warm body pressed close. An arm wrapped around my waist from behind. My body stiffened. Then Jiang Chiye's low voice sounded by my ear. What are you doing out here alone? Don't take those people's words to heart. It's just idle gossip. I didn't move. I didn't speak either. Jiang Chiye seemed to think I was still sulking. He gently rubbed his chin against the top of my head. His tone softened even more, with a hint of coaxing. Qinghuan, I've told you. You're fine. Don't worry about what others think. As long as I like you, that's enough. Hearing the word like, I almost let out a cold laugh. What kind of like is he using? The kind where I'm a tool to defy his family, or the kind where I'm a foil to his unwavering devotion to Li Nian? Jiang Chiye probably felt words weren't enough comfort. Seeing I was still silent, he suddenly turned his head, and unexpectedly kissed the side of my neck. A warm, soft sensation spread. My whole body shuddered. I instinctively tried to push him away. Right at that moment, the balcony glass door was pushed open violently. Li Nian stood in the doorway, a smile still on her face that she hadn't had time to hide. Upon seeing the two of us embracing, especially Jiang Chiye's kiss on my neck, that smile instantly froze. Her face paled slightly. A layer of tears quickly welled up in her eyes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm disturbing you. Her voice choked up a bit. After saying that, she turned and ran off. Her retreating figure looked somewhat flustered. Jiang Chiye let go of me almost immediately. His expression clearly changed. His eyes followed the direction Li Nian disappeared, filled with clear worry and a hint of struggle. He quickly looked back at me, his tone returning to calm. Don't dwell on what happened earlier. As long as I like you, that's enough. I'm going out to make a call. He hurriedly chased after her. I stood where I was, looking at the empty doorway. I tried to force a smile, but in the end, I couldn't even manage a self-mocking one. I can't stand another second at this birthday party. I turned and walked away. Just as I reached the driveway outside the hotel entrance, a figure blocked my path. It was Li Nian. Her eyes were still a bit red, but the expression on her face was already composed. It carried a condescending scrutiny. Leaving so soon, Mrs. Jiang? Isn't it a bit rude for the guest of honor to leave a birthday party early? Or is it because you saw Chiye go after me, and it bothered you? I didn't want to engage with her. I tried to walk around her. Li Nian reached out to stop me. Don't go. Let's talk. About Chiye. About your ridiculous marriage. I think you need to know a few things. Let go of me. What? Feeling guilty? You know you're occupying a place you shouldn't. Let me tell you something. Chiye has only ever had me in his heart. I tried hard to shake her off. Li Nian was wearing high heels. Her foot seemed to slip. She let out a sharp cry, and fell backward. Instinctively, she grabbed my arm tightly. I was pulled off balance by her. The screech of brakes, and the sound of impact happened almost simultaneously. In the chaos, I just felt a tremendous force hit me. The world spun. A searing pain shot through my forehead and cheek. Warm liquid instantly blurred my vision. Severe pain and dizziness swallowed my consciousness. In my dazed state, I felt people gathering around, the noise of the crowd and the siren of an ambulance. In my haze, I thought I saw Jiang Chiye rushing over. On that face, always calm and aloof. For the first time, clear panic appeared. Then I heard a fragmented conversation, as if coming from far away. Both patients are severely injured. They need surgery immediately. But there's only one operating room left. Mrs. Jiang has facial injuries. The wounds are deep. Without prompt treatment, she could be disfigured. Miss Li has injured her hand. Without prompt treatment, it could affect her piano playing. Save Nian Nian first. She needs her hands to play the piano. Then forget about Mrs. Jiang. Her appearance isn't important to begin with. Those words, not important, cut through me like a knife. My blood felt like it froze. Because I'm ugly. I don't matter. My vision went dark. I completely blacked out. When I woke up, I was in a hospital room. No one was by my side. I touched my face. It was wrapped in thick bandages. The door opened. Li Nian walked in. Her hand was also bandaged, but she was smiling. Song Qinghuan, I heard you were badly hurt. Your face got all cut up. I thought for sure you'd be disfigured this time. Didn't expect the doctor the Jiang family found to be so good. They actually managed to fix you up. But even if it's healed, it can't hide your natural ugliness. These thick bandages actually match your bangs and glasses pretty well. Equally unpleasant to look at. Get out. You're not welcome here. Just you wait. Being ugly is one thing, but having such poor manners, you're truly a disgrace. With that, she turned and left. At the police station, Lin Yan and I were interrogated separately. Everyone on Lin Yan's side claimed I intentionally hurt her. I said she grabbed me first, and I was just defending myself. But no one believed me. Soon, Jiang Chiye arrived with a lawyer. His gaze lingered on my disheveled collar, and the gauze on my face. His brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. Then he looked over at Lin Yan, sitting quietly nearby. Lin Yan met his gaze, and shook her head slightly. Her eyes were filled with resignation, and a hint of resentment at being dragged into this. Jiang Chiye was silent for a few seconds before finally speaking. His voice was low and steady, but betrayed no emotion. Qinghuan is emotionally unstable. She needs to calm down. Since this was reported to the police, let's treat it as disturbing the peace. A few days in detention will give her time to reflect. My eyes widened in shock. I stared at him in disbelief. Just like that, I was taken to a holding cell. I knew Lin Yan wouldn't let this opportunity slip by. The next 7 days were hell for me. The cold cell, the rancid food, the roommate who picked fights on purpose. I gritted my teeth and endured. I didn't cry or make a scene. My eyes grew emptier with each passing day. My heart grew colder and harder. On the 7th day, Jiang Chiye was waiting for me at the gate. He was leaning against his car, a cigarette between his fingers. Smoke swirled around him, blurring his handsome features. When he saw me come out, he put out his cigarette and walked over. "You're out. Get in the car." I didn't move. I looked up, staring straight at him. My voice was hoarse. "Why?" Jiang Chiye seemed caught off guard by my question. He paused. "Why what? Why did you let her go? Why did you lock me up? You think I'm ugly, so you assumed I was lying, that I hurt her on purpose, right?" Jiang Chiye looked at me. His eyes were red-rimmed, filled with utter despair. A faint discomfort flickered in my heart, but I quickly ignored it. His tone softened, with a patient, reasonable air. "Qinghuan, things were chaotic back then. You were probably too scared and misunderstood. Locking you up for a few days was a lesson, and to let things settle down. I didn't abandon you. I made arrangements inside. You wouldn't be mistreated." Made arrangements. I almost laughed out loud, but tears fell first. Did he ever consider that his beloved Lin Yan also made arrangements to torture me until I wished for death? I bit my lip until it bled. In the following days, perhaps afraid his little tool would throw a tantrum, he showed rare gestures of compensation. He took me to an exclusive private auction, bought every exorbitantly priced diamond necklace, antique earrings, famous paintings, all registered under my name. But looking at those cold diamonds, I only felt numb inside. After the auction ended, I walked out to the deck alone for some air. Familiar footsteps sounded behind me. Lin Yan walked up beside me. Her voice was soft, but her eyes were venomous. "Song Qinghuan, Chiye bought you all those things. Are you happy? But no matter how expensive these things are, they can't change the fact that you're just a tool. He used you to pressure his parents. Now that his goal is almost achieved, how much longer do you think you'll last by his side? When we get married, I'll remember to send you an invitation." I don't want to hear this. I turned to leave, but Lin Yan grabbed my wrist. "Leaving so soon? Heartbroken? I already told you the truth last time. Chiye has always loved me. You're just a substitute." I tried to shake him off. We struggled by the railing at the stern. The cruise ship swayed slightly. We both lost our balance. We tumbled over the railing, plunging straight down into the dark, icy sea below. The freezing seawater instantly flooded my nose and mouth. The massive shock and cold left me gasping for air. "I can't swim." I flailed helplessly. Salty seawater rushed down my throat. In my dazed state, I saw a figure leap into the sea. The agile figure was Jiang Chiye. Without hesitation, he swam straight toward Lin Yan, who was splashing and calling for help. He grabbed her from behind and swiftly swam toward a lifeboat. He didn't even glance back at me. The icy water wasn't as cold as the frozen feeling in my heart. Just as my consciousness began to fade, another passing boat spotted me. People on board scrambled to pull me out. I collapsed on the deck, coughing violently, vomiting the seawater I'd inhaled, soaked to the bone, shivering from the cold. Jiang Chiye had already gotten Lin Yan onto the lifeboat, wrapping her in a blanket. He asked her softly. Then he seemed to remember something. He looked up toward me. His gaze landed on me. It was just a casual glance at first, but the next second, it froze. My heart clenched. Instinctively, I lowered my head and touched my face. The heavy makeup on my face, after being soaked and rubbed by the seawater, had become patchy and was peeling off, revealing large patches of my original skin. My wet bangs were plastered to my forehead. Those black-framed glasses were long gone. Right at that moment, Lin Yan let out a weak moan, and nestled into Jiang Chiye's arms, breaking his probing gaze. "Chiye, my head hurts. I'm so cold." Jiang Chiye immediately looked away. "Hang in there. I'll get you to a doctor right away." He didn't look at me again. He scooped Lin Yan up in his arms, and hurried toward the cabin. I watched his retreating figure, clutching my soaked clothes. My fingertips were ice cold. In the end, I said nothing. With the help of the people who rescued me, I boarded the cruise ship, and found an empty room to recover in. I looked at the face in the mirror, the one hidden beneath the ugly makeup. A face of breathtaking beauty. This is what my mother left me, and the original sin I've hidden for over a decade. As I disembarked, my phone rang. It was Mrs. Jiang. Her voice carried undisguised relief and satisfaction. "Song Qinghuan, the divorce certificate is finalized. From now on, you and Chiye are done. We'll give your father some compensation. Don't show your face again. I stood at the pier, phone in hand. The sea breeze tousles my half-dried hair, revealing my smooth forehead, and my clear, yet icy eyes, no longer hidden behind glasses. It's all over now. I hailed a cab, and went straight to the cemetery outside the city. The woman in the photo was beautiful and gentle, but her eyes held an unshakable sorrow. Mom, you were right. Being too beautiful might indeed get you deceived. But I was utterly deceived even when I tried to look plain. Hiding myself doesn't bring safety. It only emboldens those who hurt me. So from now on, I don't want to hide anymore. Even if the road ahead is still rough, I want to face it as my true self. I kowtowed 3 times, then turned and left. My back resolute, I returned to the villa. Without alerting anyone, I went straight upstairs to the bedroom, and did 3 things. First, I packed all my belongings. Second, I washed off all my makeup. In the mirror, through the steam, a face gradually came into focus, breathtakingly beautiful. Third, I took out my phone and booked the earliest flight out, took a cab to the airport, got my boarding pass, went through security and waited. I kept my head slightly lowered the whole time, but that stunningly beautiful, makeup-free face still drew countless admiring, curious, and even surreptitious glances. I was completely unaware, or perhaps I no longer cared. The plane soared into the clouds, leaving behind the city that held all my pain and deceit. Far, far behind. What I didn't know was that shortly after I boarded, countless photos secretly taken of me at the airport had already hit the local trending charts at an alarming speed, and were rapidly spreading. The photos went viral instantly. The whole internet was searching for this breathtakingly beautiful girl. Soon, my identity was slowly uncovered. Song Qinghuan, the ugly wife from the Jiang family? The internet exploded. Public opinion did a complete 180. Astonishment, curiosity, doubt, and deep dives. All sorts of voices rose up in a clamor. Soon, the media dug up old stories. My mother was once a famous beauty in her day. She married down into the Song family, but the marriage was unhappy. In the end, she succumbed to depression. On her deathbed, holding her young daughter's hand, she urged her to hide her face. For over a decade after that, I never changed my ugly look. An article came out, a beautiful mother who married the wrong man. A beauty who met a tragic end. The daughter hid her stunning beauty to protect herself. The daughter hid her stunning beauty to protect herself. The daughter hid her stunning beauty to protect herself. The report was detailed, emotionally charged, and quickly sparked massive sympathy and discussion. Her mom was right. Being beautiful can really be a curse in that chaotic circle. What about all the people who mocked her before? Does their face hurt? Does their face hurt? Does he know his wife is this stunning? Does he even know? When the incident reached its peak, Jiang Chiye was presiding over a meeting in the top-floor conference room. It was about an important cross-border merger and acquisition. The atmosphere in the room was tense. He held a pen between his fingers, listening to his subordinate's report. His expression was its usual calm and controlled self, until his assistant burst in, flustered. He didn't even bother to knock. He placed a tablet in front of him. Mr. Jiang, sir, you need to see this. It's about Madam. Jiang Chiye frowned with displeasure. He glanced at the screen, his gaze fixed on it. It was that high-definition photo taken at the airport. Features as delicate as a painting. Clear eyes, with the outer corners slightly downturned, softening their natural upward tilt. It added a fragile, yet icy beauty. It was Song Qinghuan, the wife he had brought home 3 years ago. Jiang Chiye's pupils constricted sharply. He stared intently at the photo, then quickly scrolled down. He saw the story about my mother that netizens had dug up, and their theories about why I had pretended to be ugly for over a decade. It felt like an invisible hand clenched his heart, then twisted it slowly with a dull ache. The meeting room was dead silent. All the executives held their breath, watching their young, usually stoic leader, who never showed his emotions, now displaying a rare, almost blank look of shock. After a moment of silence, he only uttered, "Meeting adjourned." He stood up abruptly, grabbed his tablet. Without even looking at anyone, he strode out of the conference room. Back in his top-floor office, he locked the door. He walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, scrolling through the photos one by one. Different angles, different lighting, even a few blurry silhouettes or shots from behind. But all were breathtakingly beautiful without exception. This wasn't an effect achieved with makeup or surgery. This was a natural, innate beauty of bone structure and skin. A perfect combination, an impactful kind of beauty. He thought of me, always with my head bowed, heavy bangs, clunky black-framed glasses, and that always ill-timed, dark lipstick. He thought of when he said, "You're fine," and the faint blush on my earlobes he had ignored. Thinking back to the dress shop, I confronted him, eyes red with anger. "Do you think I'm not good enough?" Thinking back to the police station, I asked why, my voice hoarse. Thinking back to the icy water, when he swam towards Lin Yan, that fleeting glance he threw back. My eyes grew hollow, falling silent. His heart began to race, faster and more erratic. A strange, jumbled feeling of shock and regret, and an indescribable, dull ache, slammed into his chest. He had never felt this way before. Not even back when Lin Yan cried and said she was breaking up with him. All he felt then was anger, resentment, and the stifling feeling of being controlled. Not like this moment. This feeling, as if something crucial, was slipping rapidly through his fingers. He desperately tried to grasp it, but only caught empty air. A cold panic. A knock sounded at the office door. Before he could respond, Shen Tingshao pushed the door open and walked in. He was one of the few people Jiang Chiye could count as a friend. From a similar background. A carefree playboy. Hey, the whole world's going crazy out there, and you have the nerve to just sit here watching this? He trailed off, his gaze landing on Jiang Chiye's face. He froze. Jiang Chiye was backlit. His expression was unreadable, but Shen Tingxiao had known him for years. He could see the turmoil churning in his eyes, a storm he was desperately trying to suppress. Shen Tingxiao stepped closer. He glanced at the tablet screen in Jiang Chiye's hand. It showed a face of breathtaking beauty. Mine. He let out a low whistle. Man, looking at you like this. Don't tell me you're actually falling for her. Jiang Chiye's body stiffened almost imperceptibly. He turned those words over in his mind. That tool he once thought was suitable, the one he married to infuriate his family the most. Jiang Chiye shakes his head. That's impossible. But a sharp pain from deep within his heart, and countless details he's ignored over the past 3 years, are now surging up violently, silently refuting his denial. What are you doing here? He looks away. His tone turns cold and hard again. I almost forgot why I'm here. Saw the trending news and came to check on you. Didn't expect it really was your wife. But hey, keep it in the family. Can you introduce her to me? What are you talking about? She's my wife. Jiang Chiye cuts him off. His tone carries a cold sharpness he himself hasn't noticed. Shen Ting is taken aback for a moment. His expression turns strange. What wife? Chiye, you don't know yet. Know what? Shen Ting takes out his phone, taps a few times, and hands it to him. The official website of your Jiang group released an official statement half an hour ago. It says you and Ms. Song Qinghuan have amicably dissolved your marriage. Jiang Chiye snatches the phone. On the screen, a statement in black and white, stamped with the official seal of the Jiang group, is crystal clear. It was released by the group's PR department, but the authority to use that level of clearance belongs only to him and his parents. This can't be. Jiang Chiye stares at those few short lines. Blood seems to rush to his head in an instant, then recede just as fast. His hands and feet turn ice cold. He immediately picks up the desk phone and dials an internal line. To the head of legal. His voice is cold enough to freeze. Investigate my divorce agreement with Song Qinghuan. Now, who handled it? Who signed it? Why wasn't I informed? After hanging up, his fingers trembled slightly. He dialed another number. It was his mother. The call was answered instantly. Who authorized you to release that statement? I never signed anything. What divorce? You didn't sign. But Song Qinghuan came to me herself. She was adamant about getting a divorce. She signed the agreement. I had someone handle the paperwork. What? She didn't tell you? She contacted me right after leaving the hospital that day. Said she was determined to end this marriage. Hospital? What hospital? That time you were hospitalized after getting hurt saving her. Wasn't she injured too? After being discharged, she called me to say she wanted a divorce. I think she finally knows her place. Took the initiative to leave. At least she knows her place. Chiye, it's good that kind of woman is gone. Mom will find you a more suitable socialite. Jiang Chiye didn't listen further. He hung up the phone. He suddenly remembered his mother's visit to the hospital room. Their argument, a terrible suspicion, like a cold snake, slithering into his heart. He immediately called the hospital director, his voice tense. Pull up the surveillance footage. From outside my room during my last stay, the few minutes of waiting felt like an eternity. As the email notification chimed, Jiang Chiye opened the attachment. It was the surveillance video. In the footage, his mother entered the room. Long after the door closed, I walked out from the next room, pale-faced, with bandages still wrapped around her forehead. I walked up to his hospital room door. I seemed like I wanted to push it open, but my hand froze on the doorknob. Then I just stood there, motionless. The video had no sound. He could only see me leaning against the wall, my body swaying almost imperceptibly. He saw me slowly raise my head, looking toward the hospital room door. In those eyes that were always downcast and evasive, clearly reflected shock and confusion. Then a bone-chilling despair and coldness that gradually spread. Finally, I slowly retreated step by step back to my own room. My figure was frail, like a withered leaf about to shatter. Jiang Chiye stared intently at the screen. His fingertips were ice cold. His blood seemed to freeze. So she knew all along. Knew his original reason for marrying me. Knew all his kindness had ulterior motives. Knew there was another woman in his heart. Knew I was just a pawn in a game. A show of force. A tool to force the family to compromise. Jiang Chiye let out a low, bitter laugh. His voice was hoarse and broken. He raised a hand to cover his eyes, but warm liquid still seeped through his fingers, spilling out uncontrollably, scalding and painful. Shen Tingxiao stood to the side, watching his friend, who had never been so distraught, wanting to say something. In the end, he just sighed, and quietly slipped out of the room, gently closing the door behind him. Outside the window, the daylight slowly faded. Jiang Chiye sat in the growing darkness, like a lifeless statue. He didn't know how much time had passed. He lowered his hand. His eyes were bloodshot, but the confusion and pain in them had been replaced by a near-fanatic determination. He picked up his phone, and dialed his special assistant. His voice was raspy but commanding. Use every connection we have. Find Song Qinghuan as fast as possible. I need to know where she is right now. Immediately, right now, Jiang Chiye mobilized every connection he could. The information he found was, I used my ID to buy a one-way ticket to Yuncheng. He flew there immediately, but the trail went cold upon arrival. I didn't use my ID to check into any hotels, or any ghost houses or inns. I didn't rent a car. It was as if I had prepared plenty of cash in advance. Then, like a drop of water, I silently evaporated into that sea of people, famous for its complex terrain and dense ancient towns. Jiang Chiye's people practically turned the city upside down, and all possible hideouts in the surrounding area, but they still came up empty. As days went by, cracks began to show in Jiang Chiye's usual calm composure. He started having insomnia, smoking all night long. His office and home were thick with the smell of smoke. In meetings, he'd suddenly zone out, his gaze fixed on some empty space, asking a random, out-of-context question. Where could she possibly go all alone? His assistant lowered his head, not daring to answer. Shen Tingshao came to see him. Seeing his haggard state, he clicked his tongue. You've really got it bad. Jiang Chiye didn't deny it. He just took a deep drag of his cigarette. The smoke blurred the red veins in his eyes. He thought, perhaps what he felt for Lin Yan was always just a habitual sense of possession, and an unresolved obsession from his youth. When Lin Yan left, he was furious and resentful, feeling manipulated by his family and fate. But when I disappeared, what he felt was a heart-wrenching, hollow pain, as if a piece had been ripped right out of it, and a paralyzing fear of losing me forever. This feeling was unfamiliar and sharp, leaving him completely at a loss. Lin Yan couldn't get through to him on the phone, so she went straight to his company. Chiye, why are you avoiding me? Why won't you answer my calls? Is it because of Song Qinghuan? Listen to me. It's all fake. It's a trap she set up to get back at us. How could she possibly look like that? She must have gotten plastic surgery, or used some other trick. She's just doing this to get your attention, to ruin our relationship. Chiye, don't let her fool you. Jiang Chiye looked at her meticulously made-up eyes and brows, listening to every word that came out of her mouth, full of malicious assumptions and belittlement of me. The image in his memory of that bright, proud girl, who needed his protection was rapidly peeling away, revealing beneath it a stranger, even repulsive, scheming and twisted nature. He pried Lin Yan's fingers from his arm, one by one. Lin Yan, what she looks like, whether it's real or fake, is none of your concern. And whether she's worthy of me or not, that's for me to decide. Lin Yan's lips trembled. Chiye, you. Jiang Chiye cut her off. His tone grew even colder. And another thing, after Song Qinghuan was detained, what strings did you pull with the people inside? Did you really think I wouldn't find out? The color drained completely from Lin Yan's face. Her eyes widened in terror. For the sake of the past, I'll let it slide this time. Don't test my patience again. And don't show your face in front of me or her ever again. Jiang Chiye pulled open the office door. Without another glance at her, he turned and left. A few days later, by chance, Jiang Chiye was browsing a niche designer forum, when his eyes were drawn to a set of anonymously posted sketches. Jiang Chiye felt a stir. He immediately had someone trace the poster's IP address. The address pointed to an ancient town in the south. A vague thought flashed through his mind. I think I minored in design in college, and my mother's hometown is somewhere around there. Arrange the plane to Linxi town. He immediately stood up and grabbed his coat. Mr. Jiang, the video conference with Europe this afternoon. Before he could finish, Jiang Chiye just tossed out a reschedule it. He didn't hesitate at all. Linxi town wasn't large, but it was crisscrossed with waterways. Inns and ghost houses were hidden within its winding alleys. Tourists were plentiful. Jiang Chiye held a printed copy of my barefaced photo from the airport, and went door to door asking. But 3 days passed, with no progress. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack, or being trapped in a maze. His anxiety and sense of helplessness grew by the day. One night, he walked into a quiet bar by the river. Inside, the lighting was dim and warm. A live singer was on stage, strumming a guitar, singing soothing old tunes. Jiang Chiye took a seat in the corner. He ordered a strong drink, but barely touched it. His gaze was empty as he stared out the window at the babbling water and swaying lanterns. In the interplay of light and shadow, his gaze froze. By the bar, a woman in an elegant, moon-white, modernized qipao came into view. It struck his eyes. She had her back to him. Her long hair was loosely tied up, secured with a simple wooden hairpin, revealing her slender, graceful neck, and a small patch of fair skin on the nape of her neck. It's you. Jiang Chiye's heart, in that instant, felt as if struck by a heavy hammer. It stopped beating abruptly, then began to pound wildly. He practically stumbled to the bar, and grabbed my wrist as I held the pen. My hand paused. I slowly looked up. When I saw who was holding me, a flicker of emotion passed swiftly through those clear eyes, like a pebble dropped into a still lake, but the ripples vanished instantly, leaving only a cold, unfathomable calm. Sir, you've mistaken me for someone else. I tried hard to pull my hand back. Jiang Chiye's grip tightened. His fingertips were even trembling slightly. Agony and regret, and the wild joy of finding you again, along with something deeper, an emotion even he couldn't name, clashed violently within his chest. Qinghuan, it's me. I found you. Come back with me. Let's talk this through. I looked at him. Then, a faint, cold smile touched the corner of my lips. There was no warmth in it, only thick, heavy mockery. Go back where? Mr. Jiang. I raised my other hand, and pried his tight fingers away, one by one. The Jiang Group's divorce announcement was seen by everyone online. The divorce certificate with the official seal was mailed to me days ago. There's nothing left between us, and nothing to talk about. That was a misunderstanding. My mother issued that statement without my knowledge. I had no idea. I never signed anything. Qinghuan, it doesn't count. Who issued the statement makes no difference to me. The result is we're divorced. Legally, socially, in the eyes of everyone. You, Jiang Chiye, and I have no relationship whatsoever. Please let go, and please leave. Don't come bother my life again. After saying that, I turned around to leave. I know I was wrong. He raised his voice abruptly. The few customers in the bar all looked over. He ignored everything, staring at my resolute back. The words that had been churning in his heart countless times blurted out. Qinghuan, give me a chance. Can we start over? I'll handle everything. Lin Yan, my parents. Everyone and everything that wronged you, I'll handle them all. I promise it won't happen again. Jiang Chiye. I stopped walking, didn't turn around, just slightly turned my face, and my voice, soft but clear, reached his ears. You're starting over. Does it mean continuing to use me as your shield against your family, or as your foil to prove your undying love for Lin Yan? Your mother was right. When I was ugly, I was a stain on your Jiang family. Now that I've become pretty, have I suddenly turned into an object you can use to make up for your regrets and guilt? Jiang Chiye's face turned pale, as if he had been punched hard in the face. He staggered back half a step, opened his mouth, but couldn't make a sound. I've received your apology, but I don't need it, and I won't forgive. I stopped looking at him. I adjusted my cloth bag on my back. Don't follow me again, or I'll call the police. With those final words, I left, pushed open the wooden door of the bar, and my figure quickly melted into the hazy night outside, and the sound of gurgling water. Disappearing, Jiang Chiye stood rooted to the spot, as if all his strength had been drained. He grabbed the glass from the table and downed it in one go. The liquor burned his throat, but it couldn't suppress the icy chill, and boundless panic spreading through his heart. He turned and rushed out of the bar, chasing in the direction I had disappeared. He followed from a distance, watching me enter a small riverside guest house, with a sign that read, Luqing. Warm yellow light spilled from the latticed windows. He checked into an inn across the river. His room window faced the second floor of Luqing, specifically, a lit room. He stood there by the window, watching that light, until it went out, and until the sky began to lighten. The next day, he saw me leave very early. I wore a simple linen dress. My hair was loosely tied up with a wooden hairpin, carrying a light easel and a small wicker basket. I walked along the cobblestone path to an old tree by the river. I set up the easel, facing the babbling stream, the distant stone bridge, and a black canopied boat. I began to paint. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, dappling my skin. My expression was serene and focused. Occasionally, early rising women washing clothes or children playing would pass by. They'd greet me, and I would look up, and smile back. That smile was faint, yet genuine. My eyes reflected the morning light and the water's shimmer. There was a relaxed, vivid beauty he had never seen before. Jiang Chiye hid in the shadows of the alley entrance, drinking in the scene greedily. But the hollowness in his chest ached even more intensely at the sight. Her peace, her vitality, her beauty. Her peace, her vitality, her beauty. Her peace, her vitality, her beauty. None of it had anything to do with him. In fact, she might have only regained it after leaving him for good. This realization nearly knocked him off his feet. He stood like a silent statue. He stood there for a long time, until I packed up my painting supplies, picked up my basket, and leisurely walked back to Luqing. For the next 2 days, he lingered around Luqing like a ghost. He watched me buy groceries, cook, hang the washed sheets in the courtyard, and chat with the neighbors. In the evening, sitting on the stone steps by the river, lost in thought, watching the sunset dye the river water gold and red. My life was simple, routine, and peaceful. Without him, and without those suffocating schemes, humiliation, and hurt, it was as if he was watching through a glass case, observing a beautiful world that had nothing to do with him. Until the afternoon of the third day, this fragile peace was shattered once again. A black sedan, completely out of place in the ancient town, came to a rough stop right in front of Luqing's entrance. The car door opened, and Lin Yan stormed out of the car. Jiang Chiye's heart sank. He immediately quickened his pace to follow her. In the courtyard, I was sitting on a bamboo chair, looking down, trimming a small pot of asparagus fern. Song Qinghuan, you just won't go away, will you? Have you no shame? You're already divorced from Chiye, yet you're hiding in a place like this, trying to seduce him. You think showing off that face of yours will win him back? Let me tell you something. Dream on. Chiye loves me. It's always been me. You were just a tool he used to spite his parents. A pitiful, laughable substitute. I put down the scissors in my hand. I looked up at Lin Yan. Ms. Li, this is where I live. It's private property. Please leave. Lin Yan let out a bitter laugh. She stepped forward, pointing her finger in my face. You're the one who should leave. How dare you say Chiye didn't come here because of you, that you didn't deliberately let your whereabouts slip? It was at that moment Jiang Chiye walked into the courtyard. He saw Lin Yan's aggressive stance, her finger pointed at my face. and heard the stream of venomous words coming from her mouth. A rage he'd never felt before surged through him. Lin Yan, shut your mouth. Lin Yan froze. She whirled around and saw Jiang Chiye. Her expression instantly shifted to one of hurt and panic. Chiye, how? What are you doing here? Are you here for me? Is this woman harassing you? Jiang Chiye ignored her. He walked straight over to me, and shielded me behind him. Only then did he turn his gaze to Lin Yan. The disgust in his eyes was unmistakable. I told you not to show your face around her again. Did my words go in one ear and out the other? Chiye, I'm worried she's tricking you. She's cunning. She deliberately made herself look plain to marry you, and now she's showing her true colors. I said shut up. Jiang Chiye cut her off. His tone was colder and harsher than ever before. Lin Yan, for the sake of our past relationship, I'll give you one last chance. Get out of my sight now, or I won't hesitate to make the Li family disappear from this city for good. Lin Yan looked as if she'd been struck by lightning. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Her face turned deathly pale. You, what did you say? For her, you'd go after my family? Jiang Chiye, how could you? Jiang Chiye stopped looking at her. He turned to two bodyguards in black who had appeared at the courtyard gate. He ordered coldly. The bodyguards stepped forward immediately. They grabbed Lin Yan by each arm. Chiye, you can't do this to me. I'm the one who loves you the most. Lin Yan struggled, screaming and crying. She was dragged out unceremoniously by the bodyguards, and shoved into a car. The car sped away. Her cries faded into the distance. The courtyard fell silent again. Only the rustle of wind through the bamboo leaves remained. Only then did Jiang Chiye turn to look at me. I was still sitting in the bamboo chair. My eyes lowered slightly, looking at the fallen leaves Lin Yan had trampled on the ground. My face expressionless, as if that whole spectacle had nothing to do with me. Jiang Chiye spoke. His voice held a plea that was almost pitiful. Qinghuan, come back with me, please. He took a step forward, wanting to take my hand, but I avoided it. I looked up at him. Jiang Chiye, don't you get it yet? The problem was never just Lin Yan. It was you. It was the marriage built on calculation, deceit, and humiliation from the very start. It was you having someone else in your heart, but marrying me as a tool for 3 years. It was your silence when your mother called me an ugly stain. It was you taking the dress from my hands at the boutique, and handing it to Lin Yan. It was you in the sea, swimming to Lin Yan without hesitation, not even looking back at me once. With every word I spoke, Jiang Chiye's face grew paler. I stood up. I brushed off some non-existent dust from my clothes. Jiang Chiye, I don't hate you anymore. Hating someone is exhausting, but I don't love you anymore either, and I'm definitely not going back with you. I watched Jiang Chiye's face instantly turn deathly pale. I saw the pain and despair churning in his eyes, but I felt nothing inside, only a desolate calm. I'm fine the way I am now, so please, leave my world. With that, I stopped looking at him. I turned and walked through the rustic wooden door of liching, and gently closed it in his face, shutting him out, along with the world that once held me. Jiang Chiye stood outside the door, like a statue that had suddenly lost its support. He stood there for a long time, until dusk fell, and the river lanterns lit up one by one, casting his long, lonely shadow. He didn't knock again, because he knew it was pointless. Some doors, once closed from the inside, can never be pushed open from the outside, no matter how hard you try. Jiang Chiye returned to the Jiang Corporation. His body was back, but his soul seemed left behind, in that misty little town. When Shen Tingxiao saw him again, he could hardly believe it. The cool, composed Jiang Chiye was gone, replaced by a gambler driven mad by love. His first move was to strike the Li family with overwhelming force. In just half a month, the once glorious Li family was teetering on the brink, on the verge of bankruptcy. Lin Yan knelt on the cold steps, in tears. She knelt on the cold steps, crying out Jiang Chiye's name over and over, begging for mercy, pleading their past affection. But Jiang Chiye refused to see her even once. He only sent his assistant down with a message. Lay a hand on my person, and you pay the price. The words, my person, were deliberately emphasized, leaving no doubt who he meant. The news spread like wildfire. The industry was shaken. Who would have thought that Jiang Chiye, who had always protected Lin Yan, would turn so ruthless? Then, at a major business summit, it was Jiang Chiye's turn to speak. He took the stage, but didn't talk about the economy, or the future of the industry. Standing under the spotlight, facing the sea of business elites, and the flashing cameras, he did something rare. He brought up a personal matter. I'd like to take this opportunity to clarify something. My divorce from my ex-wife, Miss Song Qinghuan, was not what I wanted. There was a major misunderstanding. The room fell dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Countless shocked and disbelieving eyes focused on him. Jiang Chiye met those gazes and continued, his every word firm and clear. I solemnly declare here that the only wife I, Jiang Chiye, will ever have is Song Qinghuan. I am doing everything I can to correct my mistake. He paused, his gaze sweeping over the eager media in the crowd. His voice lowered, carrying an unmistakable warning. I implore everyone not to disturb her life. Give me, and her, a chance to make things right. Jiang's mother saw the news, and smashed her teacup on the spot. She stormed into his office, pointing at Jiang Chiye, trembling with rage. Have you lost your mind? For a woman like that, you've thrown our family into chaos, pushed the Li family to the brink, and now you say this in front of the whole world. Jiang Chiye looked up from his documents. His face was expressionless, but his eyes were ice cold. Mom, if you still want me as your son, please respect my choice. Jiang's mother was stunned by his gaze. She was speechless, then grew even more furious. For that homewrecker, you'd abandon your own mother? Jiang Chiye closed the file. He stood up, walked to the window, his back to her. If I'm forced to choose between her and you, I choose her. His mother staggered back a step, grabbing the edge of the table, staring in disbelief at her son's proud, yet desolate, back. She had never seen him like this before, frenzied and obsessive, reckless, like a lion, utterly enraged, guarding his territory. Anyone who tries to approach his treasure will be torn apart. Jiang Chiye didn't go back to the old town. He was afraid his presence would disturb me, that I'd disappear again. But he found another way, to stubbornly exist in my life. Every day, I'd receive something different. Sometimes a fresh bouquet of purple irises, still wet with dew. The card had no signature, just a printed line of poetry. Seeing such beauty, how could one not be happy? Sometimes an invitation to a private auction at a top gallery. In the accompanying catalog, a piece of ancient jade I'd glanced at was specially marked. Sometimes it was just a handwritten card. The handwriting was sharp and messy. It was Jiang Chiye's writing, but the message was clumsily sweet. It's raining today. Stay warm and eat well. My reaction was always the same. I never opened them. The flowers were left untouched at the inn's entrance, left to the sun and rain, to wither and die. Invitations and cards went straight into the trash bin outside. The medicinal ingredients I gave to the old lady next door. The innkeeper felt bad for him, and couldn't stand to see it. She tried to talk to me while making tea. Qinghuan, Mr. Jiang sends gifts every day, but he never shows up. It seems like he truly knows he was wrong, and is filled with regret. I was sketching a bookmark with my head down. Hearing this, my brush didn't stop. Some mistakes can't be fixed just by regret. Some wounds won't heal just by sending gifts. The shop owner sighed. She said nothing more. Things weren't calm online either. Some influencers tried to run into me for photos and clout, but before they even reached the old town, they were turned away by the suddenly increased tourism, security and the vigilant locals. Under this strange, airtight protection, my life miraculously maintained a surface calm. I knew exactly whose doing this was, but I felt no gratitude, only weariness and a touch of absurdity. Li Nian's life, however, plummeted from heaven to hell. From the adored young lady of the Li family, to a laughingstock everyone avoids. The drastic fall from grace, the gnawing hatred, consumed her day and night. She blamed all her misfortune on me. I stole Chiye from her, and ruined her life. With the money from pawning her last bit of jewelry, she didn't pay debts or live on it. Through shady connections, she contacted a few desperate men. The money's yours. I want that woman's face ruined. I want her reputation destroyed, and her life a living hell. A few evenings later, as I returned from sketching, passing by a quiet, deserted alley, a dirty, old van suddenly screeched to a halt beside me. The doors slid open with a clatter. Two burly arms shot out. One clamped over my mouth, the other grabbed my wrist, and shoved me violently into the van. I didn't even have time to cry for help, before a foul-smelling towel was clamped over my mouth and nose. The pungent smell rushed into my nostrils. I struggled a few times, and my consciousness quickly faded. The last thing I saw was Li Nian's face, twisted with madness and hatred. Jiang Chiye was in the middle of a crucial, international video conference. His phone vibrated on the desk. It was the emergency line from the man sent to protect me in secret. Boss Jiang, there's trouble. Miss Song was abducted by a van at the alley entrance. Our men lost them. They were aware of being followed. The van had fake plates. The color drained from Jiang Chiye's face in an instant. Location, the last known location, heading towards the old industrial district in the west. But there are many side roads there. It's a blind spot for cameras. Mobilize everyone you can. Block all roads out of the city. Search every warehouse in the old industrial district. Every abandoned factory. Jiang Chiye spoke at a frightening speed, with a ferocity on the verge of losing control. Then he dialed another number. His voice trembled slightly from sheer terror and tension. The helicopter. Get it ready for me on the company rooftop. Now. Only one thought spun wildly in his mind. Qinghuan must be okay. She absolutely must be okay. The abandoned warehouse was filled with the stale smell of rust and dust. I was thrown onto the cold concrete floor, hands tied behind my back. Li Nian stood before me. In her hand was a sharp dagger. The blade gleamed coldly in the dim light. Song Qinghuan, you're finally in my hands. She crouched down and patted my cheek with the cold blade. Look at this face. So pretty. It's this face that Chiye is obsessed with, right? I turned my head away from the blade. My face showed no expression, only a cold stillness in my eyes. You know what? I was only going to scar your face, turn you into a real monster. See if Chiye would still want you. But now I've changed my mind. I want everyone to see what happens when Jiang Chiye's precious woman is disfigured. What that would look like, she said, the knife tip slowly moving toward me. My body tensed up. My hands, tied behind my back, clenched into tight fists, nails digging deep into my palms. Right then, the warehouse's rusty iron door was kicked open from outside. Blinding light flooded in. A figure stood silhouetted against the light, like a demon returned from hell. He charged in, radiating a fierce killing intent. It was Jiang Chiye. His gaze instantly locked onto me on the floor. seeing I was unharmed, just tied up, with a red mark on my face. For a moment, his racing heart settled just a bit, then he saw the knife in Lin Yan's hand, and where its tip was pointing, his murderous aura became almost tangible. Lin Yan, let her go. Lin Yan was startled by the sudden crash. The knife tip trembled, drawing a thin line of blood on my neck. Seeing Jiang Chiye, she was shocked at first, then burst into even sharper, more hysterical laughter. Jiang Chiye, you're finally here. She yanks my hair violently, forcing me to face him. Look at her. What's so great about her? Besides this face, what else does she have that makes you treat me like this? Treat our Li family like this? Jiang Chiye's gaze is glued to my face, seeing the beads of blood seeping from my neck. His pupils suddenly constrict. Let her go. Name your price. Lin Yan seems to have heard the biggest joke. Fine, then I want you to marry me, right now. Say you'll marry me, right in front of her. Jiang Chiye doesn't even blink. He says resolutely, impossible, other than her. I don't want anyone else. Lin Yan bursts into hysterical laughter. Tears stream from her laughing eyes, but her gaze grows even more crazed. Fine, what profound, unwavering love. Then I'll ruin her face first. Let's see if you'll still love an ugly monster. If you dare lay a finger on her. Jiang Chiye's eyes blaze with fury. Every word seems to be forced through gritted teeth. I'll make you wish you were dead. As he speaks, he subtly, ever so slowly, inches forward. Lin Yan's emotions have completely spiraled out of control. The hand holding the knife trembles violently. Her eyes are wild. Then just try it. See if I dare. Before the words even fade, her wrist tenses. The knife tip slashes viciously toward my cheek. I hear Jiang Chiye shouting my name. In the instant the blade descends, Jiang Chiye lunges like a beast pouncing on its prey, exploding with astonishing speed. He throws himself forward. He doesn't go for the knife. Instead, he uses his body to shield me, covering me completely beneath him. At the same time, his left hand clamped down like a vice, seizing Lin Yan's knife-wielding wrist. The blade's direction was deflected, but it still slashed down viciously, slicing deep into Jiang Chiye's right forearm, which he'd put up to block it. Jiang Chiye grunted in pain. The veins on his temples bulged. His face instantly paled from the excruciating pain and blood loss, but his movements didn't falter for a second. Gritting through the pain, his right hand exerted force, and gave a brutal twist, accompanied by an even more piercing shriek from Lin Yan. The bones in her wrist were snapped. Only then, did the bodyguards who charged in with Jiang Chiye swarm forward. They quickly pinned the shrieking Lin Yan down. Seeing Jiang Chiye's wound gushing blood, the bodyguards' faces changed in horror. Mr. Jiang, your arm. But Jiang Chiye seemed completely oblivious to the pain. He didn't even glance at his own gruesome injury. He didn't even pay attention to Lin Yan screaming on the floor. Staggering, he dropped to one knee. His hands trembling, he worked to untie the rough rope from my wrists. His movements were urgent, yet carried a kind of, almost reverent care. Afraid of hurting me in the slightest. Don't be afraid, Qinghuan. It's over now. Jiang Chiye's voice trembled violently. It held the lingering fear of a close call, a bone-deep terror. I'm here. Don't be afraid. The rope came loose. A glaring red mark was left around my pale wrist. Jiang Chiye's pupils contracted. Gently, he cradled my hand, wanting to check it, but not daring to apply pressure. His gaze swept over me urgently. When he saw the thin cut on my cheek from where the blade had grazed me, his eyes held nothing but overwhelming heartache and dread. Does it hurt? Are you hurt anywhere else? I'll get you to the hospital right away. He wanted to hold me, but hesitated because of the blood and dirt all over him. His arm froze mid-reach, unsure what to do. From being kidnapped, to having a knife held to me, to Jiang Chiye breaking down the door, getting hurt, and subduing Lin Yan. It all happened so fast. So suddenly, I sat on the ground, calm the entire time. It wasn't until Jiang Chiye, ignoring his own bleeding arm, tried to hold me, that I finally reacted. Jiang Chiye, is your little act over? Jiang Chiye froze completely, as if someone had thrown a bucket of ice water in his face. A chill ran from his head to his toes. He looked at me in disbelief. The color drained completely from his face, even paler than from blood loss. His lips moved, but no sound came out. My gaze held no warmth for him, only a barren coldness. We were lucky this time. What about next time? Will you only be satisfied when you've paid with your life? I paused. Each word was like an ice pick, hammering into his heart. Jiang Chiye, your love comes too late, and it's too heavy. I can't bear it. With that, I stopped looking at him. Nor did I look at his arm, which trembled slightly at my words. His arm was bleeding freely. He pushed himself up from the cold ground, stood up on his own. He brushed the dust off his clothes, smoothed out the wrinkles on his shirt. Then he turned and walked toward the warehouse door, toward the flashing police lights that had just arrived. He walked away calmly. My back was straight and resolute. I didn't look back once. At the man who had nearly lost an arm for me, who now stood frozen in place as if plunged into an icy abyss. After the warehouse incident, I didn't linger. I gave my statement to the police, answered all their necessary questions, and then I returned to the Liqing guest house. I declined the landlady's worried offer to stay, settled my bill, and in the early morning before dawn, I quietly left the old town. The town was as quiet as when I had first arrived. When Jiang Chiye got the news, he was at the hospital getting his gruesome arm wound treated. The anesthesia had just worn off. The wound throbbed with pain, but he didn't even flinch. He just stared at his phone screen, waiting for any news about me. His phone rang. It was from the man he'd sent to protect me in secret. The voice on the line was frantic. "Boss Jiang, Miss Song, she's gone." Our men were watching all the exits from the old town. They never saw her leave. She might have changed her appearance, or taken a different route. "I'm sorry, Boss Jiang, we've lost her." The phone slipped from his hand. It hit the floor. The screen shattered. Jiang Chiye seemed not to hear it, nor feel the pain in his arm, where the wound had started bleeding again from the sudden movement. He just sat rigidly on the hospital bed, staring out the window at the gray sky. His eyes empty. "I'm gone again. This time, it's for good." More resolute than ever. He can even picture how calmly I packed my bags, how I slipped away from everyone's sight, how I vanished like a wisp of smoke into the morning mist before dawn. A massive panic and a crushing sense of helplessness engulfed him like an icy tide. Even worse than when he found out I was kidnapped. At least with a kidnapping, you know where the person is. You know the enemy is out in the open. But now, I'm gone. I don't want him anymore. Find her. Use every connection we have. Spare no expense. Use any means necessary. Search every corner of the earth. But find her. The Jiang family's machinery was set in motion again, but I was like a drop of water that had evaporated into thin air. No further use of my ID card. No new activity on my bank cards. I had completely erased my tracks. The wound on Jiang Chiye's arm kept reopening, because he wouldn't let it heal, getting infected and inflamed. He ran a persistent fever, but he didn't care. Sick and feverish, he searched like a madman. Days turned into weeks. Hope dwindled with each passing day. Jiang Chiye was visibly falling apart. He started drinking heavily. Empty bottles littered his home. Late at night, clutching a bottle, he would scroll through the only photo left on his phone. A candid, makeup-free shot of me taken at the airport. When Shintingdi came to see him, he barely recognized the man curled up on the couch, unshaven, with sunken eyes, reeking of alcohol. His gaze as empty as stagnant water. The once confident and composed Jiang Chiye was gone. He was a completely different person now. Shen Tingxiao let out a sigh. He kicked aside an empty bottle at his feet, and sat down beside him. "If you knew then what you know now, you wouldn't have done it." Jiang Chiye didn't react. He just clutched the bottle, staring blankly out the window at the thick night. Shen Tingxiao took the bottle from his hand and set it aside. "You've really fallen this time. Fallen into a pit you can't climb out of." Jiang Chiye's body trembled almost imperceptibly. He slowly turned his head to look at Shen Tingxiao. His eyes were red, bloodshot. He spoke, his voice hoarse and broken, thick with congestion, like a lost child. "I can't find her. I can't find her. I'm afraid I've lost her." He lowered his head, covering his face with his hands. His shoulders began to shake uncontrollably. Shen Tingxiao looked away, his heart heavy with sorrow. He had never seen Jiang Chiye like this. Fragile, desperate, on the verge of shattering. Prolonged drinking and insomnia, severe emotional turmoil, and the repeated infection of his arm wound, left untreated. Jiang Chiye's body had finally reached its limit. During a high-level video conference, as he listened to his subordinate's report, a sudden, sharp pain twisted in his gut. A metallic taste rose in his throat. The next second, to everyone's horror, he jerked his head to the side, and sprayed dark red blood across the polished conference table. The meeting room descended into chaos. Jiang Chiye was rushed to the hospital. The test results came back quickly. Acute gastric hemorrhage, severe neurasthenia, high fever and complications from a severely infected wound. The doctor frowned at the medical chart. He said to Mrs. Jiang and Shen Tingxiao, who had rushed over after hearing the news, "The patient is severely overworked. He's under extreme mental stress, and he's completely uncooperative with the treatment. If this continues, the consequences will be unthinkable." Jiang Chiye remained unconscious in the hospital bed for 2 days. His high fever wouldn't break. He was lost in chaotic dreams. The dreams were bizarre and surreal. All of them were about when he first met Song Qinghuan. Her panicked attempts to wipe the dirt from her face, only making it more of a mess. When they registered their marriage, she quietly signed her name, wearing thick glasses, her fingertips trembling slightly. Her wearing an apron, cooking congee in the kitchen. Her gentle profile softened by the rising steam. Her asking him with reddened eyes if he thought she wasn't good enough. Her standing in the police station, hoarsely asking why. Her gradually falling silent in the cold seawater. That final glance she gave him. Finally, all the images shattered and swirled, condensing into that abandoned warehouse in the old town, and the words that sent him straight to hell. "Jiang Chiye, your love came too late, and it's too heavy. I can't bear it. Qinghuan, don't go. I was wrong. I was really wrong." In the bed, Jiang Chiye moaned in pain, his forehead covered in cold sweat, his hands clawing wildly at the air, as if trying to grasp a phantom. 3 days later, Jiang Chiye's fever finally broke. He woke up, but his eyes were empty. He stared motionlessly at the ceiling, like a puppet that had lost its soul. The doctor said he needs rest. He can't handle any more stress. Mrs. Zhang's eyes were red from crying. She wanted to say something, but in the end, she just sighed, and quietly left the room. A few more days passed. Jiang Chiye was finally able to get out of bed. His first order of business wasn't to focus on his recovery, nor was it to deal with the mountain of work piling up at his company. Instead, he went to a psychiatric hospital on the outskirts of the city, one with extremely strict supervision. Inside a special care unit, he saw Li Nian. In just 10 short days, the once radiant and beautiful young lady of the Li family had become gaunt and emaciated. Her eyes were vacant, her mouth mumbling incoherent words. Occasionally, she would erupt, letting out sharp cries or bursts of laughter. Seeing Jiang Chiye, she was first bewildered. Then, as if recognizing him, she threw herself against the isolation window, frantically pounding on the thick glass. Her face contorted. Chiye, you're here. You're here to take me out, right? I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have touched Song Qinghuan. Please forgive me. Tell them to let me out. Jiang Chiye stood outside the window, his face pale, but his eyes as cold as eternal ice. He watched the hysterical Li Nian inside calmly, his expression completely blank. This place suits you well. Li Nian froze, her hands still pressed against the glass. She stared at him in disbelief. Enjoy the rest of your life here. The doctors and nurses will take special care of you, ensuring you pay the full price for everything you've done. Jiang Chiye, you can't do this to me. I love you. I did it all because I love you. It was Song Qinghuan who stole you away. She deserved to die. Jiang Chiye stopped looking at her. Turning to the director accompanying him, he said flatly, proceed as we discussed. Without my permission, no one is allowed to visit, not even her family. With that, he turned and walked away, leaving the desperate cries and pounding behind him. The corridor was empty and quiet, only the sound of his own footsteps echoed. This was one of the few things he could still do for Song Qinghuan. He walked to the window. Outside, the sun was shining brightly. The garden was lush and green. Yet his own world had long been a barren wasteland. The mountains were buried in snow. He had lost his light. From then on, the nights stretched endlessly long, with no dawn in sight. 2 years passed, enough time to wash away many traces. Song Qinghuan settled in a quiet town in the southwest frontier. She used her savings to buy a small storefront on the street. Half of it was her living space. The other half converted into a small studio. She took on design jobs online, and also some work from local craftsmen in town. Her life was simple and frugal, yet fulfilling. She no longer deliberately hid her appearance, wearing no makeup, in a long linen dress, her hair loosely tied up. She drew many glances walking on the cobblestone streets. Young men from the town, and tourists who had heard of her, would express their interest. She would always smile politely, maintaining a gentle but firm distance. The name Jiang Chiye gradually became an increasingly prominent symbol on the financial map. Under his almost self-destructive work ethic, the Jiang Group's empire expanded wildly. No woman could get close to him. Rumors swirled. They said Chairman Jiang, for the sake of his ex-wife, he remained chaste, a man obsessed. Only Shen Tingdi, on his occasional visits, saw the thick stack of Song Qinghuan's photos, locked in the study desk drawer. Those were the only things Jiang Chiye had left of her. The international top-tier jewelry design competition commenced once again. Song Qinghuan saw the call for entries. She stared at it in silence for a long time, then closed the webpage, and returned to the unfinished wood carving in her hands. But a few days later, she still submitted a carefully prepared design draft, still under the name Huanqing. Several months announced later, the list of finalists, and Huanqing was once again prominently on it. Jiang Chiye remained the top sponsor of the competition. The organizers repeatedly urged him to attend the final in person. He stared at the name on the finalist list that stung his eyes, remaining silent for a long time. I'll go, he said, but his seat was arranged in a corner, and he would not accept any interviews. The final venue was star-studded. Song Qinghuan sat in the contestants' area, looking calm. 2 years had added a layer of serenity and composure to her demeanor. But she did not respond. She was simply herself, Song Qinghuan, here to present her work. During the award ceremony, her work once again won the top prize. She took the stage to accept the award and give a speech. Under the spotlight, she thanked everyone, but made no mention of personal feelings. During the charity auction, her work was once again the final lot. As the bidding began, as expected, in the shadows of the corner, that number plate was raised again. Each bid doubled the previous one, aggressive, and determined to win. The price once again soared to astronomical figures. As the gavel fell, it was sold. Congratulations to Mr. Jiang, number 28. He stepped onto the stage, and the two shook hands. His hand was still cold. With a slight tremble, the two exchanged only cold pleasantries, as if they were strangers. She smiled, maintaining her distance. After stepping off the stage, they walked briefly side by side in the backstage passage. Suddenly, he spoke in a very low voice. As long as you're doing well, that's all that matters. She kept walking. Without looking back, she went straight toward the friend waiting for her, and melted into the crowd. After that competition, Song Qinghuan's design career took off. She gained international fame. She moved a few times, and finally settled in an ancient city in the region south of the Yangtze River, rich in cultural heritage. She opened a more spacious studio, and took on a few students. She was still alone, but her heart was full and at peace. Occasionally, at large events, she would see him from afar. Their paths no longer crossed. A year later, on Song Qinghuan's birthday, the studio received its usual air-freighted purple irises. No name was attached. Her assistant marveled. Ms. Song, it's that secret admirer again. Always right on time every year. So romantic. You really don't know who it is. Song Qinghuan took the flowers and placed them in a vase. She gazed out the window at the ancient city's gray tiles and white walls, and smiled faintly. Maybe I don't know, but that doesn't matter anymore. What matters is, I've finally learned to love myself, to make peace with the past, and become my own warm light. Those past pains had become the backdrop of her life, making her see more clearly who she was, and what she wanted. She thought she probably hadn't failed her mother's final wish. In the end, she had protected herself well, not by hiding her face, but by growing strong bones and full wings. She was no longer anyone's tool, pawn, or accessory. She was Song Qinghuan, and that was enough. On the other side of the city, Jiang Chiye stood before the floor-to-ceiling window of his office, looking out at the glittering sea of city lights. On his desk lay the latest issue of a finance magazine. The cover featured Song Qinghuan, giving a speech at an international design forum, confident and radiant. He looked at it for a long time, then he picked up the intercom. For next quarter's charitable donations, focus on supporting independent female designers, and art education programs. After hanging up, he sank back into his chair, and lit a cigarette. Smoke slowly rose. He knew some mistakes couldn't be undone, and some people, once missed, are gone for good. All he could do was silently guard a patch of clear sky beneath the skies where she soared, a clear sky she might never need. Then, for the rest of his endless days, learn how to live peacefully with this regret and love, etched deep into his bones. Time passed. They each drifted through life, and each found their own harbor.